And as the sun sets over the mile in
Montreal, we take a look at
the case that we got from the bedroom closet. Public Enemy, Apocalypse 91.
the
Enemy Strikes
Black.
Public Enemy, Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black. This cassette I listened to non-stop when it came out. And I gotta say, I was a little surprised when I looked at the release date on the back here, 91, the year of grunge, the year of so many great albums. It's insane. If you look at 91 and how many amazing albums came out in 91, it is really, really insane.
French bombing the video.
The album's release aside, I was listening to this, looking back, I thought I listened to it in junior high, but I was in grade 11 when in 91. And I guess it would have been, this came out in 88, and I was definitely listening to this. Takes a nation of millions to hold us back. They had so many, the late 80s, they put out one banging album after another. It's really, really incredible. And to me,
Oh, yeah, you go over there on your bed.
That's a good spot for French. That's a good spot for Prince.
and to me, when it was coming out, it was such a dichotomy to a lot of the crappy rap dance tracks that were coming out at the time. It was so hardcore to people in the mid to late 80s, when we were hearing stuff like NWA and the Fat Boys and Def Jam stuff, Run DMC and LL Cool J, Beastie Boys. And to me, Public Enemy was sat at the top of that hierarchy. Just in my own personal taste, it was just the sampling, the beats, the lyric delivery, the lyrical content, the fantastic trade-off between Chuck D and Flava Flav. I just it really resonated to me, the music listener at the time who was seeking out pop music that was a little more considered and layered, and not that consider it pop music, but popular music. And the way I think of it happening likely was me being a student of classical music from the time I was 6 and accustomed to layered and sonically rich music. And so the layering and the considered production and just the love that went into the Public Enemy records, especially by this point where they had really locked it in, really struck a chord with me. And I mean, this record's, the track listings is just so incredible. There's the hits, Night Train, Can't Trust It, Shut 'Em Down. I think Shut 'Em Down that went to number 9 or something like that. And for me, the standout track, which was I think it was the B-side to Shut 'Em Down. I have a single here, actually.
It's just a couple mixes. Almighty Raw
125th Street
bootleg mix and Gory Island Conga radio mix.
I think by the time I get to Arizona was the B-side for Shut 'Em Down. And when I go back and listen to this now, I will always gravitate towards, by the time I get to Arizona, that title being kind of a riff on the Isaac Hayes track, By the Time I Get to Phoenix.
By the time I get to Phoenix?
The heaviness of the drums and that fuzzed out bass line. Just so heavy. I still will put it on now and just crank it and really vibe out. Public Enemy 2, they were such geniuses at marketing. If you look at these covers, the artwork, and what they're wearing, instantly recognizable as soon as you see them. Especially Chuck D and Flava Flav, just with the way they looked, always kind of sporting always sporting variations on the same look. Really recognizable, very smart marketing move. Whether it was overtly conscious or not, which it probably was a little bit, puts them up there with the best of artists who get that. Whether it's a natural instinctual thing to kind of get, or if it was their label being like, you should, do this. Like what's the Rick Rubin thing where he talks about artists, and the best artists are like extra themselves, are like the best artists. He talks about WWF and WWE wrestling, and how a good artist is like that. As soon as you see one of those characters, boom, even by their silhouette, you know who it is. And likewise, if you want to punch through and be memorable to the listener and the watcher, you have to have the instant recognition. I mean, we see it all over social media these days, and it's a cardinal rule, of course. But I love the way Rick Rubin talks about it, in stressing that it should be a look and a feel and a vision that is authentic to you. And really it should be, you're trying to boil it down to the essence of you. I mean, even Rick Rubin is somebody who had always kind of adhered to that, his own look, shades. I mean, these days not, but once upon a time, the shades, the beard, the hair, it was just, you saw him, you know who he was instantly. I love that. Public Enemy is a masterclass in that role. And I mean, I remember listening to these records back then and really, really, really being drawn to the lyrics. And in the pre-internet days, it being like a zine, or like an underground kind of information highway on the life of people who were so outside of what I knew in my small town outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Somebody coined it once upon a time that Public Enemy was like, they were like the CNN for the Black community. And that always stuck with me afterwards, how that was so true. What they talked about, the issues they spoke about, it was always so real, and it always felt so important. And especially for me, coming of age in the late 80s, the music that I was listening to and connecting with was music with lyrics that was about real life, whether it was confronting controversial issues about right and wrong, or politics, or war, or greed, or death and destruction, or anything that wasn't just the regular, I fell in love and how great it is. I mean, there is always, always a place for the love song. But taking into account the whole swath of the human experience and the majesty of our history and collective consciousness, I was always one of those people who felt that pop music should deliver more than just talking about love and heartbreak. And that's what Public Enemy always represented and embodied. It was that keeping it real, fist in the air, truth to power, calling out the bullshit, raging against the machine. And it was that confrontational and authentic voice that they represented. It was just the feeling of their music. It's cliche, but it feels like it's coming up from the streets. And to me, and to so many other people, it was just such important music. Public Enemy, Apocalypse 91, The Enemy Strikes Black. Get into it.